Pass Play podcast. This is an audio look back at every video game ever. I'm Matthew.
And I'm Ben.
And this, Ben, is our very first episode. Are you excited?
Yeah, I'm a little nervous, but we'll see how it goes.
Yeah, I'm keen for it. I'm keen. Let's see how we go.
What are we doing today?
Well, today we are talking about The Outer Wilds, which is a 2019 release from Mobius Digital, a independent hit, an indie game, and yeah, I think it's going to be good. So, before we get started, I wanted to talk about what is the Pass Play podcast? What is it going to be?
Okay, alright. So, I'd imagine what we're doing is we're just talking about, this isn't a review thing, this isn't a, oh hey, this game came out a week ago thing. This is, man, this game's been out for a while, let's go back and talk about it now that everyone knows that this is a thing. Am I correct?
Yeah, that sounds about right. That sounds like it. So I think what we want to say about this is there is no specific rules, I guess. Like, we'll try and do a bit of a mix of games. We'll do some older games. We'll do some newish games. Probably not super old games, but you can go back a generation or so of consoles and, yeah, give a bit of a mix of Xbox, PS4, just reviewing, or sort of reviewing, but looking back at games that have been, important or significant in gaming history. And I'd say there's probably more of a focus on story-based games, games with a bit of a campaign or a plot to follow through. So how things are going to work is, first we're going to do a bit of an overview of the game, which in this case is The Outer Wilds. And then we're going to talk, and that'll be the sort of a spoiler-free idea for anyone who hasn't played it yet. And then we're going to go into a bit of a history of, how this game came to be, what was the development cycle like, all that sort of stuff. Then we'll take a little bit of a break, and we'll come back and we'll really dive into the nitty-gritty of the story through full spoiler territory. So you've been warned, when we get to that point, everything's on the table.
Okay, and just to clarify, this is Outer Wilds, not Outer Worlds.
No, not Outer Worlds. Yes, Outer Worlds also came out in 2019. It's a different game.
Yeah, this is the indie one, not the Fallout one.
Yeah, this is the one that's not, who was that, Obsidian? This is not Obsidian. Yeah. This is Mobius Digital. Okay. So, do you want to start? Let's have some, overview, basic thoughts. Tell me about The Outer Wilds.
Outer Wilds is my favourite game of 2019. Loved it. It's space exploration, the video game. You get in your little rinky-dink ship, you fly to all the planets, explore the different planets. There's no rules. There's no, hey, go here and do this. There's no, objectives or anything. You do whatever you want, you go wherever you want, and you discover the story. It's not even really one overarching story, though, is there? It's kind of like 5 different things going on, but...
Yeah, there's 4 or 5 different sort of main points that you have to work out. Sort of everything points you towards these sort of areas, and you have to find out what was going on, and eventually you do get an overall picture of the solar system, but because you're exploring the past of a previous civilization that's lived there. They were called the Nomai. Which I'm assuming is the plural for nomad.
Yeah.
Just like Kantai is the plural for Kansas. And so, you find out what they've been doing, but they've sort of been living in separate groups and we're all working towards different projects. And you sort of, you're uncovering what happened and in the end, I guess, solving the mysteries of the solar system.
They're all science. Okay, so you've got, am I correct in remembering that there's only 2 alien species in this game, really? There's your species, and then there's the Nomai?
Yeah, pretty much. I don't even know what your species is called. Are they called something? Maybe I forgot that. They've probably
got a name. They got, 3 eyes or something?
Yeah.
Round oval heads? I don't know what they're called.
I think you have 4 eyes, maybe.
4 eyes, yeah.
There's the name of your space program, but, but I don't think it actually has the name of your planet, your people. So there's basically only you and the Nomai, and you live in this really depressing solar system where your planet is only big enough for a dozen people to live on safely.
Apparently.
And all the planets are, about as big as...
You could walk around every planet in about 10 minutes.
Yeah, 10 minutes walking. You can fly around your home planet, you can fly around maybe in 30 seconds if you just flew all the way around. So, it's good. It's good. Okay, so I'm not as, super, super high on it as you. Not to say that I didn't enjoy it. I really enjoyed my time with it. But I think it's a game that it's something that you don't see in other games. You know, there's a million first-person shooters out there.
Yes.
There's a million, beat 'em ups or all this sort of stuff. This is a game that gives you something that you don't really see that often. And, I mean, there are other games a bit like it. Like, there was obviously No Man's Sky came out not too long ago.
Yeah.
Which I have not played, so,
it's all right.
you know, I can't say that I'm an authority on that. But, yeah, it's something that you're not expecting when you normally play a video game. You know, there's no objectives, there's no sort of goal that you have to do. There is a bit of a map to guide you where you're supposed to go in terms of which clues.
Because it's what do they call it? It's
like a rumor map or something.
Yeah, that sounds about right. Well, you find the stuff that's important, and then like, oh, this could link to this, and then so from there, it'll say, oh, maybe this links to this thing on the other planet. It draws lines to the different bits and pieces, so it guides you in a way. It's not just completely throwing you out into the abyss, but it's still up to you to find these things, connect these things, and there is an end game, I suppose, but you could really just end wherever you wanted and be like, okay, I'm happy, I've explored enough, but...
Yeah, I think there is technically an end game state that the credits will roll.
Yeah.
But it's also... It's something different about this type of game, even compared to other puzzle games, because you could say this is a puzzle game. You know, you sort of have to traverse different areas. You have to put together certain pieces to make everything work together at the end. But the beauty of the game is that really you could finish the game in the first go.
Yes.
If you were really lucky and somehow just walked into the right spot, you could finish the game in 10 minutes. But you can't because you don't know the secrets of the universe. You have to find all that stuff out, and then eventually it suddenly all becomes clear to you, and you can finish it in 10 minutes.
It's great. Because there is an achievement in it, they make you do it in one loop, which is the worst thing I've ever done in my life. It's painful. So you have to, but I do like that. It's kind of similar to, what was it? Gone Home? Did you play that?
I have not played it yet.
Gone Home you can finish in about 3 minutes or something.
Yeah.
If you know where to go and what to do, you can finish this game, like, instantly. But I like that if you don't know what you're doing, this game can take hours upon hours.
It took me... I played it most recently. It took me at least 20 hours. I didn't measure the exact time, but it took between 20 and 30 hours to finish it. And I will admit, I did look up some stuff towards the end.
Yes, yeah.
Not because, like, I don't like doing that, but it's like, when I get... It's not that I was stuck, it's that I got to a point, and I was sort of stuck, but I was like, am I stuck because I don't know, I haven't done the thing that I need to do for this part yet, or am I stuck because I'm just an idiot and I don't know how to do it?
I can only imagine you got stuck at the same point I did, which...
I got stuck at a few different points. The one that I first remember looking it up for was, it actually doesn't matter at all in the whole scheme of the things, and I don't think I even ended up completely doing it. But you go up to, there's a thing called the Sun Station, which isn't really a spoiler.
Yeah.
There's a thing called the Sun Station, and there's like, you get up there and it's broken, and you have to like, you are supposed to just jetpack across. And I tried that once and I just fell straight into the sun immediately, and I thought, well, this can't be right. I must have to do something else. So I looked it up.
Faulty of the game.
Well, surely, I thought, I'm like this far away from the sun. Surely if I jump out of this thing, I'm just going to plummet straight into the sun. And that's exactly what happened. But apparently, if you do it right, you can just fly straight across.
Yeah.
So that was why I sort of looked things up, just to make sure that I was on the right track and like I hadn't missed something. But yeah, okay. So, have you got any more?
No.
Yeah, overall thoughts. All right. So let's sort of jump into the tutorial section, because that sort of gives you an idea of all the different mechanics that are in the game, and then they all sort of... There's a lot of simple mechanics and not a huge amount of controls to learn, but it sort of all builds together into a simple experience that they get a lot out of, the different controls that you do have.
So, they give you the whole tutorial on your starting planet, Timber Hearth, I think it's called.
Yeah, Timber Hearth,
right?
yeah.
There aren't that many mechanics, which is great. You've got your spaceship, you've got your jetpack, you've got your signal scope, like you
that's what it's
hunt
called,
around for different frequencies and stuff. That's it?
Yeah, you got your probe shooter.
That's right.
That's about it.
Yeah. 4 different things, really. And they teach you how to do them all on the starting planet.
And you got can't forget, you got roasting marshmallows.
Oh, of course.
That's a big part of the game.
What would we do without that? That's the end game right there.
Yeah, roasting. Well, yes. So basically what happens is you wake up, I guess, at the start, even though
you just wake up.
You sort of just wake up, even though it's like, I think the middle of the day. I don't know. You wake up and you're immediately, they're like, yeah, it's time to go to space. And so clearly you overslept.
Man, I am horribly underprepared for going to space.
Yeah.
Sure.
So dude you're talking to there, he's like, oh man, you got to go to the observatory and get the launch codes for the ship so you can actually leave. And then you get sent through this sort of path through the city because you don't have your jetpack yet. You're sort of just, and because the gravity's quite strong on Timber Hearth. Not super strong. But yeah, you sort of have to follow this path and you go up there and there's a little model spaceship and dude lets you fly that around so you sort of get an idea of how difficult it is to control the spaceship, so you panic immediately.
That's the thing. They use a model as their test. They're like, okay, you're going to space. Just try it. Just try it on this. It'll be fine.
It'll be fine. Cool, immediately crash. Yeah. It's not too good. And then there's a few like little geysers and stuff there that like send you flying and stuff, which comes into play later on. And then I think you go around and talk to a few people. They're mostly like, man, what are you doing going to space? I guess that's pretty cool. I don't know. I wouldn't do it, but why not?
Everyone's advising against it. They're like, man, space, that's kind of, why would you do that? Okay.
Yeah. And so eventually, and then you find, I think the next thing you do is you find some kids and they're like playing hide and seek or something.
And they're like, hey, let me tutorial you signal scope.
Yeah, let me show you how to use your signal scope. So they run and hide and you have to like, I don't know, how does it stop you from looking? I think you just black out for like 10 seconds and they're gone.
That sounds about right.
Yeah. And then you, because you close your eyes. And then you like have to pull out your signal scope and like find their signal because for some reason they're carrying signals with them to make it easy for you to find them. I don't know.
Don't they have a radio or something?
Yeah, I think so. They have like walkie-talkies or whatever. I'm not sure. Yeah. I mean, the whole point is that you're supposed to find them with the signal scope, but it also feels like cheating in hide and seek when you can just point in any direction. But hey.
Well, just do it real.
Yeah. So you find them. That teaches you how to do that. So because you'll need that sort of for different things. It's not really required, the signal scope, but it does help you find stuff if you're a bit lost. To a point.
Yeah, I think I used it mainly for planet finding. In that, which direction is this specific planet? Because you've got all the characters on the planet playing the instruments.
Yeah.
So it's...
Yeah, well, it's good in the early game as well because you're like, man, what do I do? And then you pull out your thing, you're like, oh, there's some person over here that I can go like.
See what they're banjo on the moon? Sweet.
Let's go see what's going on. And then you head up. Oh, and you see they have like a weird pen where they keep their ghost matter, which is a bit weird.
Yeah.
But then they're like, this ghost matter is really deadly. Don't go near it. So and you have like a probe thing that can take photos, but you can also shoot it off in a direction, and then it can take photos as it flies off to wherever it's going. So you learn about that. You go up a tower, you shoot it off, and then the only thing left is the 0G cave or whatever.
Where they teach you how to do the jetpack, how to do your repairs for your ship. That's about it. That's about the sum of the mechanics.
Yeah. Interesting thing about the 0G cave I found out when I was doing a bit of research is that it actually is in the dead center of the planet, which is why it has no gravity. It's not just that they put a gravity box there; it's that they actually is in the center of the planet, because the planet is, like I said, it's only about not very big. So then you head into the observatory and you talk to a few guys there, and you sort of look around. You can read a lot of stuff about the solar system there.
There's some lore.
Yeah, especially I found it interesting that they said that the sun was going to explode, but not anytime soon.
We'll get to that.
I don't think that's really a spoiler, but and the only other interesting thing there is there's like a rock that you go outside.
Hey, if you're looking at me, I won't move.
Yeah, which becomes a big part of the game actually. The quantum rocks that like you look at them and they're there, but if you look away, they'll have moved somewhere else. And so then after that, you go up and you talk to a guy called Hornfells, who gives you your launch codes and everything.
I believe I heard he's the only mandatory dialogue you have to have in the game.
Yes, he's the only thing you have to talk to, and I think he's the only conversation you even have to read, like, because you get this weird translator that reads My Script, and My Script is just, it's just a bunch of swirls. It's just a bunch of swirls coming off each other, but you can read them. But you technically don't have to read any of it. I mean, you'd struggle to find out where you're going if you didn't read it, because it tells you all these things.
A lot of it is just lore. Like,
Oh, yeah, a lot of
this
it's...
and that. But then some is, we did this here. You should go there. Have a look.
Yeah, a lot of them is just them talking to each other. But also, yeah, they do, like, there's a fair bit of it that does trigger, like, your rumour map. So it's sort of like you can go to a place and you can look around and you might know what's happening next. But if you don't actually read enough conversation, the rumour might not trigger and then your map will continue to the next place so you know exactly where you're supposed to go for sure. So you talk to this guy, and actually something else that I found out when I was doing research is that originally they had it that this dude... you can ask him what to do or something like that, but they changed it that he asks you what you want to do
because they don't want to pin you. They want to give you the freedom.
Yeah.
They was this in that documentary?
Yeah.
Yes, yeah. They want to give you the freedom. So instead of you saying, "Oh, give me help. I want help. Help, please."
Yeah.
He said, "Hey, what do you want to do?"
And then you can say,
I know what I want to do.
You know, I want to find other travelers that have been out there. I want to, what am I trying to say? I want to explore the huge planets or whatever. Or I think I just want to start off small. He's like, yeah, just go to the moon. It's about 200 meters that way. Like, it's just up there.
It really is about 200
That's how far it is. So then after that, on the way out is where the main crucial point of the game happens. As you leave, there's this weird Know My Statue thing with 3 eyes. And it looks at you. And it's like eyes glow. And you're like, oh man, that's a bit weird. And then you just move on.
Yes. It does this whole, like... Doesn't it do a flashbacky thing? Like everything you've done up until then.
Does it do that then? No, it might. Yeah, you might be right.
Yeah. The game is like, hey, here's your checkpoint system.
Yeah.
Here you go. Here's all your progress saved. Okay, that was weird. Let's keep going.
Yeah. So I talked to a dude and I was like, yeah, man, this statue is real weird. It did something. And he was like, oh, yeah, I wouldn't think anything of it. It's fine. It's probably fine.
No one cares.
It's probably fine. So you go back, you get on your ship, and you're off. You're into the to the solar system. And, yeah, you're basically free to do whatever you want. There's a whole array of planets out there for you. There's the moon. There's the planet you already live on, Timberhearth. Dark Bramble, Griddle Hollow, Giant Steep, and...
You've got the Ash Twin
Yeah,
project,
the Ash Twins.
The Sun Station.
There's the Interloper, which is like a weird comet thing.
Yeah.
And, yeah, that's...
I think that's it.
Yeah, I think that's it. So, I think that'd probably do us for the spoiler-free...
I think, yeah. From here on in, it's a bit...
Yeah, so what I might do is we'll go into the history of the whole game and how it came to be, and then we'll come back in and we'll talk full spoilers all the way through the story. Hey guys, thanks for listening to the Past Play Gaming podcast. We wanted to take this time to quickly give you some information about where you can find us and our Patreon page. Ben, you've got the info on that.
So on our Patreon page, we have 2 different tiers right now. We've got our $1 tier and our $5 tier. $1 backers will get to vote to determine what games we cover. $5 backers will get to determine the short list for this vote, and also see every episode of the Past Play Gaming podcast 1 week before everyone else.
Yeah, and that's at patreon.com/pastplaygaming.
Yeah.
So what you're telling me is that if you're the very first $5 backer, you basically can just tell us what game to review straight up.
That's a really good point. Yeah. So you have all the power. Give us $5.
If you're the only one there for $5, you can just do whatever you want.
You want us to review Fortnite? That's what we're doing.
We'll try.
Give us $5.
Okay. So also, we have a YouTube. The YouTube link is a very random complication string of characters, but it will be in the description of this and every other episode. I'm trying to do some stuff semi-regularly over there. So at time of recording, there's nothing up there apart from the trailer. All the podcast episodes will get fed onto there. And so I'm sort of semi-regularly looking to post some stuff up there. So if you want some different sort of maybe newer content on some of the new games that come out and maybe some extra analysis from the podcast, just check that out over there. And you can follow us everywhere in Facebook, Instagram, Twitter at PastPlayGaming or /PastPlayGaming, whatever they have. And with that, we'll let you get back to the episode. So we'll see you then.
See ya.
here on the Fast Play podcast, and we're diving into the history of the Outer Wilds. So, Outer Wilds, I think, has a unconventional history, really, compared to a lot of games. You know, it wasn't a big studio, it wasn't a big idea or a big project. It all came out of a student project from Alex Beecham, who was a student at the University of Southern California in the games program, and he was doing a master's, and it sort of became his thesis project. He sort of cobbled it together over a lot of different projects, you know, where he'd do different things to do with the spaceship, or he had a project where, you know, it was sort of an emotional thing where the sun would blow up while you were roasting a marshmallow, which basically became
That's the premise of the game.
the premise of the game. So he sort of started putting it together, but this was way back in 2011. He was doing it as his thesis, and it sort of grew from there, I guess. He worked on it a bit on the back burner, and then in 2014-15 got signed on to Mobius Digital, which is it's a studio founded by Mazioka, who you may know from Heroes. Ben, have you seen Heroes?
I have not. All I know is Zachary Quinto is in it.
Yeah, there's a few actually
That's all I got.
actors that became a bit bigger out of it. Zachary Quinto's there, Milo Ventimiglia, Hayden Panettiere, who was in Nashville and all that stuff. They were all in it. So it's sort of, it's a good show. But anyway, Mazioka, he played Hiro in Heroes, ironically. But he was not Hiro like Hero, Hiro, because he's Japanese.
It's a bit better.
Anyway, but so he's apparently a huge gaming fan. He's played a lot of games throughout his life, and so he sort of started this studio to publish sort of indie games or develop indie games. And they started with a few mobile projects, and actually, even though Alex had signed on, they didn't really straight away go to the Outer Wilds. They were still working on mobile titles, a few different things. And it was only in 2015 at the Independent Games Festival where they put in Outer Wilds for a few awards, and it won both Excellence in Design and the Seamus McNally Grand Prize, which is like the biggest prize for like the best in show or whatever for independent games. And so from that moment, they sort of went, oh wow, we need to do something with this. We need to actually make this into a game, finish it off. So they started to work into it. Because if you look at the pre-alpha footage or the alpha type footage, it doesn't look very good.
Ugly.
Yeah, it doesn't look very good. I mean, your trees are brown cylinders with green cones on top of them, no texture.
Very basic, very bare bones.
As basic as it can be. And so there was a art director or an artist type who was in the crowd at the IGF show, and his name was Wesley Martin. And he saw this game and he thought, oh, this is a bit weird. A student project has won like everything. It looks pretty crap to me. But he saw there was a job listing for it in Los Angeles area, which is where the studio was based. And he said that he started playing it, and he loved it. He played it for hours. He couldn't stop, and he realized he had to be on this project. So he joined in as art director, and over the next 4-ish years, they just kept going over and making it look better and better. And in the end, the final product looks really
fantastic.
good. Yeah. It looks really good. So they were two of the main three. The other one was Loan Verneau, who was one of Alex's friends at USC and at the uni. And he was sort of the other creative lead on it once they folded it all into Mobius. He was the one that actually started Mobius with Mazioka. And he was the other creative lead on the project. They went into a Fig campaign with which is the poor man's Kickstarter.
The poor man's.
The poor man's.
Well, I guess.
Well, I mean,
if you're doing a Kickstarter,
you're already a poor man. But this is the poor man's Kickstarter. Which I'm sorry if anyone from Fig hears this, but that's reality. So they started this. They were actually the first big projects on Fig, and they raised $126,000, which they actually only barely made their goal, which was $125,000.
Poor man.
Yeah, poor people. But I mean, $125,000 still a lot of money, so they made that. Interesting. I looked. The stretch goal was a retro text adventure of the game.
Oh, damn it. I should have backed this game.
They had to get... Well, you would have needed to back another $9,000.
Look,
but
poor man's money, mate.
Yeah. But, yeah, the entire game is a text adventure. It would have been interesting.
Yeah.
So, yeah, they did that. That was still in 2015, just after they won the award. And yet the game didn't come out until 2019. They had a lot of, design challenges. I heard, like Wesley talked about how it basically was a game that you're not supposed to make. Like everything in Unity in the game engine, it's built around things being on squares, on grids. Everything's flat, which all their planets are round. It's built on the best lighting is when everything's not moving, and all the planets were moving all the time. Even when you were on them, they're all moving around. So, they had to do a lot of work to get the lighting looking good, which they did pretty well in the end. It's not really a game where you expect it to look amazing. Like, it's
an indie game, so I can give it a pass for a few. It's no Call of Duty where you expect the top tier of these things. I can give it a pass.
Yeah. It's definitely done what it needs to do, and it's like when you're out in space, you're not expecting it to be perfect. And really, the fact is that physics-based stuff is it's supposed to be realistic. If you just throw real light at something that's moving, like physics light, it should look like it's supposed to look.
Yeah.
So yes, the Fig Money sort of worked on redefining the art, redoing a few of the planet designs, different things. I heard say Brittle Hollow originally had like a core that was made of like lava, and would like shoot things out. And then they changed it to be a black hole, which it is now. That sort of sucks everything in, the opposite, because they wanted it to break up.
Yeah.
And so eventually in 2018, Annapurna Interactive jumped in, and they're sort of a publisher of a lot of sort of puzzly type story-based games.
Yeah. Ashen, Gone Home, What Remains of Edith Finch, Donut County. A lot of just fantastic indie games. Love them. Beautiful.
Yeah. So they were a good studio to get in there, and they sort of helped polish it off again. I think when they jumped in, they sort of said, it still looks pretty crap, so we need to redo all the art again. So they did all that in 1 year. Yeah. And then here we are not right now, but in May 2019.
A bit ago.
It released not too long ago. And there we go. That was it. The game was born. And that's it. History section.
It's fantastic. I read that they had challenges with, in terms of computing. They're like, if your spaceship is on this planet, and your probe is on this planet, and you're on this planet, the game will die.
Yeah.
You will kill the game.
Yeah, so because everything's moving and, everything's happening over time, which was one of the keys of the game. They wanted things to change during the cycle of the game. So, if you're standing on one planet, you have to render everything, and it has to be moving around everything else. But if you leave your ship somewhere else, if something happens to your ship,
take care of that.
Yeah, if something happens to your ship while it's there, that needs to actually happen. So it needs to render everything around your ship and everything it can see while it's all moving around, and then you can shoot your probe out and take photos of stuff.
So it also has to.
So you have to be able to. Yeah, it has to see everything, and if something changes, so you can basically just break the game.
Because I think they severely downgrade the power of a planet, whatever you want to call it. If you're not on the planet, they're like, it's crap now. We're just gonna scale it all back.
It's just a rendered ball.
Yeah. Nothing has to interact with anything really. It's just go on.
It just spins, and you just see it.
Favorite thing about this game: no apparent loading screens.
Yes,
not a single one.
I mean, you could technically call the respawn a loading screen, but there's not really a loading screen. Yeah, but
it's not like you're not walking through a door and the game's like, all right, man, stop for a second.
Yeah,
let me just pause.
Everything, even when you teleport or something, it's just immediate.
Instant,
which is it's good. It's good to see. All right, so we're going to take another quick break, and we'll be back with the full spoilers everywhere. Be prepared review. So if you have not played the game and you don't want to get spoiled, stop now.
Or keep listening.
Well, you can keep listening if you want to. I mean,
I don't care.
We'll take the listening time, but so if you remember to like and all these things that people do on podcasts,
listen,
download them on your favorite podcasting.
Tell your friends.
Yeah, tell your friends. Download them on your favorite podcasting type application. And yeah, so if you are leaving us now, we'll see you next week when we review something else that we haven't decided on fully yet.
It'll be a game.
It'll be another game. It will be a game. Goodbye. And we're back again on the Pass Play podcast, talking about the Outer Wilds today, and we are ready for the spoiler-filled review, or, look back at the game, discussion of the game. So, basically the way we're going to do this, because the game nicely set out everything in individual planets for us, we're going to talk about each sort of planet and the main features of it, what its gimmick is and everything, and yeah, jump into that way. So, as we said, your home planet of whatever your species is called, four-eyed weirdos. They're
sure.
That's Timber Hearth. We've already talked about that. It's mostly just for the tutorial. There are a few little areas there, but they're sort of minor.
There's no real gimmick. Its gimmick is tutorial.
Yeah, its gimmick is tutorial. Everything's normal. Gravity's normal. Air's normal. No problem. It's all normal. Nothing happens to it. Fine. It just spins around. So briefly, there is, of course, the moon, which is called Addle Rock. Mm-hmm. Don't know why it's just going to be called Moon, but that's fine.
Space.
Yeah. Space. So you basically go there. There's not a huge amount there. There is some dude whose whole gimmick is that he doesn't have an instrument, so he just whistles.
Oh, that's right. Forgot about him.
Yeah.
Poor guy.
Because the idea is everyone that goes out into space has a instrument, except for you for some reason.
Well, you got your singing voice.
Yeah.
You don't use it.
Yeah, you don't use it, but everyone else brings a certain instrument with them, so maybe they just ran out of instruments, I don't know. But so this dude's just, because he's only on the moon, he's not very far away, he didn't get an instrument, so he just whistles.
You can hear him whistle.
Yeah, you can hear him whistle. Apparently you can hear him whistle from across the cosmos as well, if you wanted to.
Loud whistle.
With your signal scope. He's pretty good at it. And so, yeah, he's there. There's also a thing called the eye signal locator, which... which I have to admit, when I went to the Quantum Moon... spoilers, which we have spoilers, that's fine. Spoilers, there is a thing called the Quantum Moon, but this is not the Quantum Moon. When I went to the original moon, the Addle Rock, I only went there once in my first life, and I never went back. There's not a huge amount there. You find this thing that called the eye signal locator, and you're like, don't know what that is. Mm-hmm. You try and locate the eye, because you can locate all the planets, I believe, on it.
Yeah.
But you try and locate the eye, and it just spins around wildly, has no idea. So you're like, well, okay, I guess that's something that I'll need to know later. And, in fact, it is something you need to know later.
Yes.
But you never actually have to go back there. Basically, the whole point of it is that they don't know where the eye is.
That's all they're telling you. Yeah. That's all you need.
Which is, I guess there has to be some sort of dead ends and things. Or, not even dead ends, but it's it's just a minor piece that never really plays into anything.
Yeah, I wouldn't call it a dead end so much as a... I'm curious about this now. I'll keep that in mind.
Yeah, that's all it is. It could be... If it wasn't there, you wouldn't be like, man, I wish they had an eye signal locator.
Yeah.
But it's just something that they've sort of thrown in. So that was, Addle Rocket's pretty chill. So then the next closest... We wouldn't buy closest to the sun, I guess, because the next closest to the sun? Very closest to the sun... Well, technically the closest to the sun is the sun station, but there's not a huge amount going on there.
I don't think there's... The only thing, I think I went there a couple of times. I know I was kicking myself 100 times because there's an achievement for land on the sun station with your
Oh
ship.
my god.
That was the worst thing. I hated it. Why would you do that?
The thing is, it's not intended. That's the point.
No,
like,
yeah.
the sun station,
do it?
because it's it's so close to the sun, it is spinning like so quick.
Yeah.
And the problem is, once you get close enough to the sun,
my God.
your thrusters cannot get you out. Once you get close enough, you are hitting the sun unless you hit this sun station.
The amount of times I just killed myself in the sun.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
I mean, I killed myself along the sun, just not intentionally. Not trying to do this. I just flew into the sun. The autopilot in this game does not work.
Oh, don't use it.
You can use it, but you got to make sure that you are far away from the sun when you're headed that way. Because I was like, it's autopilot. That sounds good, and I just flew straight into the sun immediately. Like
sun station, worst location.
But yeah, literally all it is for is, well, which is actually quite a crucial thing, is that they were trying to destroy the sun, the Nomai. They were using it to like shoot some sort of super particle or something into the sun to make it blow up, but it didn't work. But that's the general gist of it. They didn't get enough power, I think, because they needed the sun for something else, which is the for the probe. Is it for the probe or is it for the ship?
No, I think it might be... No, because the ship gets trapped. I think it's the probe cannon.
Yeah, I think it's for the probe cannon, but the probe cannon fires.
I don't know, man.
I forgot what it's for, but it's for something. The sun station is needed for something.
Yeah.
Okay, so... Yeah, so you go up there, there's not much going on. If you're me, you try and there's a bridge is out and you try and jump across and fall immediately into the sun, and then you think
the game's at fault.
You think the game. Yeah. You think that I'm not supposed to be there, and then you look it up and you actually are supposed to be there. You're just bad at jumping.
Yeah. Ash Twin Project.
Yeah. So the Ash Twin Project is on the Hourglass Twins. Yes. Well, on the Ash Twin specifically. So the Ash Twin's interesting because it took me ages to realize that the Ash Twin is actually transferring its ash to the Ember Twin. I didn't. I know. It took me a long time, but because I didn't. They were one of the last places that I went. I didn't really care about them that much, and if you go to the Ash Twin immediately, it's just a ball of ash. There's nothing on it. So I just thought, okay, this is pretty boring. Nothing on this. So I went to the Ember Twin, and I sort of just stayed on the surface. You know, there is a lot of underground stuff there, but I just stayed on the surface to start with, and so you don't notice. And then, I'd go back to the Ash Twin and be like, oh, there's some stuff here I didn't see before.
Yeah.
But then I didn't realise that actually what's happening is that all the ash is transferring itself to the Ember Twin and filling that up.
I would argue that's the most... I'll count it as one location, and I would argue it's the most frustrating location in the game.
Yeah, it's quite difficult because everything's on a timer.
Yes, I spent so many attempts on the Ember Twin trying to find a missing hint. Couldn't find it, and every time, because the whole place is filling with sand and ash and whatever, you run out of room to move, and then you just get crushed and you die.
Yeah, you try and there's a few different locations on the Ember Twin where you have to get really close to the center, which when it's just filling up, you have a limited window to actually get through. It's difficult to do, and so the first one, I guess we'll talk about a little bit about the Ember Twin. Actually, we'll talk about the Ash Twin first. So the Ash Twin is basically like a teleport station. That's basically what it is.
That was where I got stuck. That was my stuck point. Because towards the end, where you have to teleport inside the project or whatever to grab the
orb, yeah.
Yeah. Had no idea. I was like, man, this is weird. I can teleport to whatever planet, but I don't really know where to go from here. I'm kind of stuck. Looked it up. It's like, oh, you got to teleport here or something. I was like,
yeah.
Oh. But you have to do it when the Ember Twin is right overhead.
Yeah. It's, painful. Yeah. By that point, it was at the point of looking things up when I got stuck. So I just pushed through with looking things up. It's weird. You have to do it, perfectly when it's overhead because you can only teleport when it's directly overhead.
Yes, yeah.
The thing. But you also have to run at that exact moment because if you just stand there, it'll suck you off the platform. So you have to be right in there the second it crosses over.
It's so specific that I would never ever have thought to do it on my own.
It's one of those things where it's not like something that you can puzzle your way out and find the solution to. It's just something we have to just
and I think they
manipulate the physics.
I think they mentioned that they were thinking about redoing that bit partially because it's so...
Yeah.
specific, I guess. There's nothing that would suggest you need to do this, really.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Yeah, it's just manipulating the physics to run in at the exact moment.
Yeah.
Like, yeah. So, yeah, and the problem is with that is that you waste a lot of time there because if you are doing that bit, it takes about at least 5 minutes for it to actually be revealed by the sinking
You fly
ash.
there and then you gotta wait. You're like, okay.
Yeah, so you wait for like 2 cycles.
And if you miss your opportunity,
you miss it. That's it, basically. Like you know, you have to do another whole cycle, and then you have to die and all this stuff. And yeah. Oh, that's actually side note. Something that I found frustrating about this game was if I was just floating through space somehow, like my ship got destroyed. You can't kill yourself.
Which makes sense. It's ethical. Like you're not gonna
but you know that you're going to respawn. Actually, yeah. So before we go too much further. Yes, you can. You do respawn. Technically, all your deaths in this game are canon.
It's on a 22-minute time loop.
Yeah. Every time you spawn, you're at the same point where you first woke up in the start of the tutorial. And you have 22 minutes in the middle of the day where you were sleeping, having a nap before your big space exploration expedition. So you have 22 minutes before the sun explodes again, and you are dead. Of course, you can die in other ways as well, and you'll go back.
Yeah.
But technically, almost all your deaths are canon.
It's Groundhog Day, the video game.
There's a few exceptions, like if you manage to kill yourself before the end of the tutorial, you will die. You will die for real, but it still lets you respawn. Like,
if you die after removing the time loop thing, that's permadeath.
Yeah, so the Nomai have set a time loop because their idea is when they destroy the sun, obviously they will all die. But if they have this Ash Twin project activated, which gives you all your memories from the previous loop and takes you back 22 minutes, then that will let you...
They have infinite time.
Yeah, you have infinite time. And what ended up happening is because they couldn't destroy the sun, and then they eventually died out for unrelated reasons that we'll get into, you just had to wait for the sun to die naturally. And so when it did die naturally, you and one other dude on Giant Steep...
Yeah, I forgot about him.
Got caught in the time loop. So usually the only people that remembered, and everyone else was just, technically dying.
Okay,
and just,
whatever.
So yes, where were we up to? The Ash Twin project.
Ash Twin project.
Yeah, so that's sort of very, very end game, the actual Ash Twin project getting in there. But you can use the Ash Twin itself to teleport to different areas. The problem with that is that you don't get to bring your ship with you most of the time. So if you do want to teleport somewhere, you don't have your ship.
Yeah.
And especially if you teleport to Giant Steep, you're not going nowhere without your ship.
You're going for.
Alright, so that's the main idea of the Ash Twin. And then on the other side of the Hourglass Twins is, of course, the Ember Twin, which is the opposite, I guess. It starts like a massively, completely empty.
Yeah.
And as time progresses throughout the 22 minutes, it just fills up, and eventually it's a ball, basically, like the old one. Yeah, and the Ash Twin is nothing. So the problem with that is that you have to know to get there really fast if you want to get to some of these places. For example, the Sunless City, where one of the drop pods has crashed, you basically only have about 10 minutes to get down there, get through all the maze of different ways you can go, and get into it, and then find everything you need to find.
It becomes purely muscle memory.
Yeah, you have to remember the path to get there.
I have to go this way, the sand's coming, I have this amount of time. If I haven't made it here before then, I'm in trouble. The loop is... I've lost this.
And then when you get there, there's like a whole bunch of different places you can go to.
So much, yeah.
So there's... Probably one of the most simple one to go to is there's like a fossil of one of these anglerfish
fossil,
which teaches you that the anglerfish can't see, which is very crucial for later on when you need to get to Dark Bramble.
Yes.
Because, again, I thought in my early days of this game that I needed to get some sort of equipment to defeat the anglerfish. But it turns out you just need to move really, really slowly.
Just be quiet.
And they won't find you. So there's a whole bunch of other places. There's the High Energy Lab, which that's where you discover that you find out that the Nomai have discovered that when they send stuff through the black hole, it actually comes out 1/trillionth of a second earlier than it went in, which is the whole basis for the Ash Twin project, in that with enough power from the sun, they can get that to go back 22 minutes, which is, what they needed for the cycle. There's not a huge amount else in the Sunless City, but on a different side of the planet, there is both Chert, who's like a little chubby dude.
Oh, Chert.
He's really short.
The dude that starts going like insane once he notices that the sun is going to explode,
Oh, yeah.
and the longer you wait with him, he's like, man, this is the end. We're dead. I'm dead. Like, he starts to panic the longer you're there.
Yeah, which is a bit sad when you consider that he must have been doing that. He does that
He does
every
it every
loop.
time.
He does that every loop, even when you're not there.
Poor guy.
Yeah, so you see him, and eventually you go into like a cave, which teaches you the second rule of quantum mechanics, which you find out the first rule on Giant Steep, which we'll go into. But the second rule, which is that, like, if you are in contact with a quantum object and you stop viewing your surroundings, so basically you turn off your light in the dark, it will travel and you can travel with it.
Yes, yeah.
Which becomes important when you find the quantum moon, which is very hard to find. Yeah.
I don't remember. Oh, yes, yeah.
So, yeah, you find that out down there. There's a whole bunch of other areas, but we'll move on. Those are the main points that we need to cover for this one.
What's next? Giant Steep? Is it?
Yeah, it's probably the next closest. So we'll go Giant Steep.
The trouble is, Giant Steep... Oh, no. I was confusing Giant Steep. I hate Dark Bramble. Giant Steep is fine.
Giant Steep, I mean, they're close, but for me, Giant Steep was almost the most frustrating, just because everything is double gravity and it's impossible to get anywhere.
Yeah.
So if you don't fly your ship there perfectly, or like, you know, I get out of my ship and I accidentally walk off a cliff and I can't get back up.
No.
So it's like, yeah, you're just sort of stuck a lot of the time. But yeah, Giant Steep is basically like, it's got 3 layers, I guess. There's like the outside layer that you see, and then inside that there's another layer that is sort of ocean with planets on it.
Yeah.
Not planets, sorry, with islands on it. And then there's a whole bunch of tornadoes going. Technically, I guess there's 4 layers. Then the next layer, if you get below that, which you need to...
You got to go really quick? Or...
You have to find a reverse spinning tornado. There's only one, I think.
Yeah.
All the tornadoes spin clockwise, I believe, but the one that spins... And they shoot the islands up in the air, the clockwise tornadoes. But the counterclockwise one actually sends you down into below the surface, which normally is it pushes you away.
Yeah.
So you get below the surface, and then there's like another layer, which is just like a electrical core type deal, and there's a bunch of jellyfish there.
You have to use jellyfish to get
And
in.
eventually you work out from a whole bunch of other stuff that you have to use the jellyfish to get in. So first rule, you have to get out of your ship, because I tried this with my ship, and the jellyfish just electrocutes the crap out of it.
I did it in the ship.
Oh, you did it in the ship?
Yeah.
How?
You just have to, like, hide in their tentacles.
Yeah. Oh, you don't have to be... I tried to get right up in the head, and as soon as I got near it, that was it. The ship just got electrocuted and
I did
flew
that
off.
many more times than I can count, yeah. But you can get in with your ship.
So eventually I was just like, screw it, got out of the ship, and just flew up in the head, and it took me down. So...
I'm always so nervous to get out of my ship, because it's like, if I lose this,
I'll never get... Yeah, well, I think I got to the point where I was like, yeah, this thing's a wipe. Actually, one of the good things about Giant Steep is Gabbro, who's the dude that's there. Mm-hmm. First thing is he is also experiencing the time leap.
He's the flute man, isn't he?
Yeah, I think so, yes. He's also experiencing the time leap, and he's basically just like, oh man, we're all going to die. Oh, I don't care. Like, whatever.
He doesn't give a shit.
Life is meaningless. Yeah. But he teaches you to meditate, if you ask him.
What does the meditation do?
So, the first time I was like, okay, I guess you can teach you to meditate. Kills you immediately. Because you meditate until the next time loop. So he teaches you. So I was like, all keen to do something. I was all keen to do something on the planet. And of course, I meditated with him, and then I was just dead and I had to fly all the way back there again. But the good thing is, once you've done that with him once, you can then meditate from the pause menu. So if you are floating in through space, did you not know this? Yeah, it becomes very useful eventually. Yeah, you can just meditate from the pause menu. So if you are floating aimlessly through space and can't find a way to kill yourself, you can just meditate until the time loop runs out.
Oh, no. I wasted so much time.
Yeah.
I had no idea.
Yeah, I just thought it was just exploring all these conversation options. I was like, oh,
did they add that? Maybe they
added that.
I
after
hope
you
they
played
added
it.
that.
That's probably, that's something that you would want to add.
There was a whole loop where I crashed my ship in such a way that I couldn't get out of my ship. So I had to wait out the 22 minutes. I couldn't die. I couldn't get out. Oh.
Yeah. There was bits where I would I crashed into part of the probe, which is around Giant Steep. You know, the pieces of the probe gun. And my ship was completely just scattered to the winds, and I was just floating. Like, it spun out away from all the planets, and I was just floating through the air. But yeah, meditate, very helpful. But yes, you get it. So back to the core. You get into the core of Giant's Deep, and that's where you find the probe that they've been shooting. So the whole point was of this whole thing, if we go back to the Ash Twin project, was they wanted to keep doing this 22-minute loop because they wanted to keep shooting their probe in every possible direction to find the eye of the universe. And they knew they didn't have enough time to just shoot it in every possible degree that they could.
You shoot, restart,
you shoot, someone is on the Ash Twin project, they remember what happened, and then you just keep going. And eventually, because we are in a loop, it does find it, and you find the coordinates in this probe tracking module for the whole eye of the universe. And you have to remember it, which is... I took a photo because I knew I'd need to remember it, But you have to remember a 3-symbol pattern, and you wouldn't be able to go back and then immediately go for it because you'd run out of time in the last loop. So you would have to actually remember it and or take a photo, which is the easiest way to do it. Other things in Giant's Deep, you learn the first rule of quantum mechanics, which is that looking at a photo of something is the same as looking at it.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
So that means that normally when you have to... So normally a quantum object, if you look away, it will teleport somewhere else. But if you have if you shoot your probe and take a photo of it, it will stay in the same spot because you've got a photo there proving that it's there.
Yeah.
Which, again, all these rules are how you get to the quantum moon in the end. So that's about it for the Giant's Deep. There is a construction yard that shows you... that sort of talks about how they built these eye statue dudes, but it's sort of a side area. What else? Do we want to talk about the canon itself? Probably sort of touched on it already. I
think, there's not much to talk about there. It's just a place. You go there. It's lore. There's nothing to do there.
Yeah, it tells you about the fact that they were shooting this thing to try and find the eye of the universe, but it doesn't actually tell you any more about it.
You do at the start of every loop. You see this happen too.
Yeah, it took me a while to notice it. It took me a few loops to notice, but yeah, you see it fire out the probe at the start of every loop because when you wake up, you're looking right at Giant's Deep with the probe on your side of the planet. And it took me a while also to work out that it was just shooting in random directions. At first, I was thinking I can follow this and maybe it'll take me somewhere, but you lose track of it so quickly, especially when you have to get in your elevator to get up to the ship, and then by the time you look back, it's gone. But yeah, so I mean that's another one of those things in the early game where they're like, here's something to do straight away. Yeah, like it's right in the center of your screen. As soon as you spawn, here's something you can do. Look. Go see what this is. But yeah, so that's the thing. Do you want to quickly... I've got the interloper here next. Do you want to quickly talk about that?
I don't even remember. Is it important at all? You get on it.
It sort of is important.
You sit on it. You have to wait until it passes by the sun because it's a frozen comet. You have to wait until it passes by the sun so it can melt, and then you can go into the interior of it. What do you find in there?
So what you find in there is ghost matter. Lots and lots of ghost matter. Right. So what happened was there was a Nomai shuttle of like 3 dudes, and... the shuttle got stuck frozen in the ice as 2 of the dudes went underneath. So the 3rd dude was stuck. The 2 dudes went in and they found out that all this ghost matter was inside the comet. And like it was unstable or something and it was about to blow. So one of them stays there to like track it and the other one goes to run to tell everyone, but he doesn't make it. It just explodes and that's what kills all the Nomai.
Oh, is it?
That's how they all die. That's why. So the idea, right, is the Ash Twin project was a failsafe because it was designed to activate if the sun station succeeded or failed. But the problem is neither of those happened. They just died from something else.
For some reason, I seem to remember the interloper hits the sun and that's what causes bad things.
I don't think so. Well, maybe that is how it ends. Maybe that's how... I'm not sure. But from what I remember... Perhaps the interloper does hit the sun at the end of the loop. I never actually paid attention to it. It sort of goes around. But whatever the case is, the release of the ghost matter from the interloper was what killed everyone. And that's why the Nomai didn't get to keep respawning because they hadn't activated the project properly. Yeah, so that's about all you find there. You can sort of recall the shuttle at Brittle Hollow that's from there and you can read a little bit about their sort of trip.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And you can also just, for fun, shoot it out in any direction with you inside to kill yourself if you felt like it.
Or you can just meditate and respawn.
Yeah, you can just meditate and respawn, I guess, yeah. Alright, so they go together. So we'll talk about Brittle Hollow, I guess, and then the Whitehall Station is sort of joined in with that. There's a lot of stuff on Brittle Hollow.
Yeah. Brittle Hollow's gimmick is, as the name suggests, the world's just fallen apart.
It's
just
hollow.
crap. Like, the whole... Because it's falling apart because it has its own moon.
It has a moon that's just
Which is
fire.
A volcano
or lava.
moon.
Yeah, it's just a volcano moon. It just
The
shoots.
volcano moon shoots at Brittle Hollow, breaking Brittle Hollow.
And I believe this is procedurally generated. I saw somewhere.
Yeah.
It's just
yes.
so as the moon, which I think is called like something lantern, it shoots fireballs basically from the volcanoes at Brittle Hollow, and just wherever it happens to hit, or procedurally generated, it breaks off the pieces and they fall into the black hole core, which then that teleports them to the white hole station, which is like miles off the map, all the way out in the edge of the solar system. And so obviously, inevitably, when you fall in, you also teleport. Inevitably, when you fall into the black hole, you also, get sent off to the white hole station, which in the end is something you need to do, technically. So I think the only way you can get inside the Tower of Quantum Knowledge, because the path there is broken, like because they have these weird purple crystals that you can walk up walls if they're like there. The path up that wall is broken, so I believe you have to wait for the Tower of Quantum Knowledge to fall into the black hole and then fly in from below.
Yes, that took me a while.
And that teaches you the final rule of quantum mechanics, which I have forgotten.
Yeah.
Oh, I think it's a really super specific one, which is that to get to the 6th location for the moon, you have to be on the North Pole of the moon.
Yeah.
Which is a super specific rule. Like all the other rules are quite generic, but this is a super specific rule. And then so Brittle Hollow, it has a lot of different areas sort of around this core, and there's a lot of walking on the roof, all this sort of stuff.
A lot of Brittle Hollow is, again, lore.
Yeah, there's a lot of bits that connect to different things, but they don't actually
there's a lot of
actually crucial themselves.
Yeah.
So there's like old settlements and stuff where you could learn things that you didn't know before. So for example, the ship that they know my first sent got sucked into Dark Bramble, and they sent out 3 escape pods.
Yeah.
And so there's a mural on Brittle Hollow that shows that one of the escape pods landed on the Ember Twin, which you would have found already if you've been there and gone to the Sunless City. One of them, I think, is it here? Yes, one of them's here on Brittle Hollow, which is why these murals are here. Mm-hmm. And then the third one gets stuck in Dark Bramble, which is something else you have to know as you go in. What else is there? There is the Black Hole Forge, which I think is just sort of... That's where they created their little ball that they need for the Ash Twin project.
Oh, yeah.
The power orb, which is what you need, which I think is how you find out that you need that to activate their ship later on.
Yeah.
So it's a lot of like learning about stuff and not necessarily actually finding out anything crucial, I guess, or doing anything crucial. But yeah, Brittle Hollow, I think it's one of the more interesting planets just because of the way...
In terms of gimmick and what it does, like playability and stuff too, I guess, probably the most fun planet.
Yeah.
One of the more annoying planets because of the black hole.
Yeah, as soon as you mess up, you're in trouble. Yeah. But yeah, the walking on the ceilings and on the walls, and there's these like the teleport things that like send not necessarily teleports, but I guess they're sort of like
they're like Halo grav cannons.
Yeah, they're like something. Yeah, they float you in a direction.
Yeah,
like so you don't fall. You follow that path. There's a lot of them between different parts of the area. Yeah, there's a lot of different places where you can gather a lot of knowledge all in one go if you're there. We already talked about the Sun Station and the Ash Twin. Let's talk about Dark Bramble.
Okay. Dark Bramble it's the end game. That is the end game, right?
Pretty much, yes. That's pretty much the end of the
You have to go there. It's the last destination you go to when you're trying to properly finish the game. In terms of, like, if you were doing all this in one loop, you'd go Dark Bramble last, and then go from there, finish your game.
Yeah, if you knew how to play, you would go there last and do everything there last. But
there's nothing important on Dark Bramble itself, because...
Oh, on the outside, you mean?
The outside is nothing.
The outside is nothing,
You have to teleport inside this Dark Bramble thing, and then it's its own sort of, like, multiverse, universe thing?
Each level is like its own pocket universe. So you go inside the tiny core of the planet, and then suddenly it's a massive area, and it's all misty, so you can't really see. No. And there's a lot of like roots and things going around, and there's anglerfish everywhere.
Yes,
which is the big problem.
Anglerfish are awful.
Yeah. So my first thought, because I actually found out about Dark Bramble's like importance very quickly, which was when you find the seed on Timber Hearth. There's a little seed there that you can shoot your probe into, and it takes it to Dark Bramble, and you actually hear Feldspar's signal. Who Feldspar is? He's a lost adventurer.
The guy. He's its planet's custodian.
Yeah, he's his planet's custodian, but everyone thinks he's dead and lost to the world. Yeah. Like, no one knows he's there, and he's actually trapped inside Dark Bramble. So my first thought was to fly myself as fast as possible towards his signal. Does not work when the anglerfish just eat you immediately. I thought I could race them, but it did not work. So what you eventually find out from the not the sun station, from the Ember Twin, when you go into the Sunless City, is that they can't see, and therefore you have to move really, really slowly so you don't make any noise with your thrusters. Now, my first thought there was I started on my path and then I ejected myself with my ejector pod, and it took me. I ran out of air before I even made the first pocket universe. Like, I made it through the first one and I was almost out of air, and then I went in and there was another pocket universe. I was like, no, I'm dead now. No. And then so you can actually activate your thrusters up to 1 bar out of 4.
You can go very, very
but
slow.
You can also actually move without even triggering a bar at all. Like, it'll still move, but it'll still be on, but it won't even be 1 bar.
The pro strat is to just rocket in at the very start.
Yeah, you just get momentum up.
Stop.
Yeah, and then just float.
Let it go.
Yeah. So you eventually, I think 2 universes in, you find Feldspar, and he's living in an anglerfish skeleton.
Yeah.
And I mean, there's not a huge reason to... the main reason to see him is because he tells you about the jellyfish, which you then can go to a jellyfish, and that's how you find out that you need to get inside the jellyfish to get down to Giant Steep and get the code for the shuttle.
To go to the Eye of the Universe.
Yeah. But the other reason is to be in Dark Bramble is that eventually you can find the signal for the original mothership of the Nomai when they first teleported you.
Yeah. And that's what you need to finish the game.
That's how you finish the game, basically. So the thing is, you find it the first time, and there's not really... You can't do anything, which irritated me because it took me a long time to get through the 3 layers of Dark Bramble that you have to get through. Particularly the last one, where you enter and there's 2 anglerfish immediately in front of you asleep, and you're basically screwed. So you find the ship, and you can't do much with it. Like, you go in there, and there's like a weird triangle type pillar that you can put codes into, but if you haven't found the code yet, which I had not, you don't really know what to do with it. You just put in random codes and nothing happens.
Does nothing.
You can tell that it's broken, that there's like a broken black hole core type thing there. Yeah. So you basically go all the way for not much. Also, there's the pod in Dark Bramble that you can go to.
Which, it's just before...
Yeah, technically it is before if you know what you're looking for.
Yeah.
Like, because you've got your signal scope that it can be attuned to pod signals. So if you've already found a pod, you can attune it and find your way there. Mercifully, there's no anglerfish in its area, so you don't have to move slowly.
No. Yeah, Christ.
But you basically find that the pod, that was the 3rd pod, and it got stuck in Dark Bramble on the way out. It didn't make it out. And it basically got confused by all the Pocket Universe stuff, all the people inside. They got confused. They could sense the signal of their main ship, and they were trying to get back, but they ended up all just crowding around this tiny little multiverse pod that no one could fit through. No. And the signal faded away, and they all died. Which, a lot of Nomai just died. Like,
look,
I mean, they all died eventually, but like a lot of them just brutally died.
If I was stuck in a dumb Pocket Universe, I'd give up the will to live too. So I don't blame them. They didn't even know how to meditate. So
yeah, they didn't know how to meditate. But if they did, they wouldn't have started a new leap. So it wouldn't have helped them. So there's a lot of throughout all these locations. Like, there's a lot of text and stuff that you find that sort of builds up. Some of it is just fluffy text where they talk to each other and being like, friends. But some of it does lead you in different directions. So the only place we have left before we get to the end game is the Quantum Moon.
What's the importance of it?
There's not It's
Lore?
the importance is it's mostly lore, but it also is just that big mystery. It's probably the hardest mystery to solve. The end game is even the end game are the two biggest mysteries.
I think I looked this up as well.
Yeah, it's very hard to get to.
Yeah.
And what turns out is that the quantum moon is the eye of the universe's moon. And so I guess because the eye of the universe is spooky cool, it can then the moon itself teleports between 5 different planets and between the eye of the universe when you're not looking. So you have to know all these rules that we already discussed about quantum mechanics to get this. So you have to know.
Stand on it, look at it.
You have to look. Well, you need to take a photo.
Be north.
All this stuff, yeah. So the first thing you have to do is find where it is, which is really annoying because the easiest way to do that is just fly up from above a planet and just spin around as lots of the planet that you're at.
Yeah.
But then once you see it, you can't look away. And you can't change to your landing camera because that'll cause looking away.
I don't think I ever used the landing camera.
I love the landing camera
I don't think I ever
because
used it.
the landing camera automatically aligns you so you're facing the ground, so you don't just crash headfirst into a planet.
That's the way.
So you have to first find it, then you have to make sure it doesn't swing around the back of the planet so you can't see it anymore. You have to follow it. You have to shoot a probe. You have to get a photo of it while it's on that planet. Then you can look away. Once you've taken a photo of it with your probe, you can land on it safely. Because if you haven't taken the photo and you try and fly into it, technically it's like you can't see it anymore because you're in it and it's gone.
Yeah. The amount of times I was standing on it and looked up and then it was gone.
Yeah.
I was like, God damn. I've got to find this again.
Yeah. So you have to take the photo so it doesn't disappear. Then you have to fly in it. And then once you're there, you always arrive on the South Pole. That's just one of the rules of the quantum moon. You always arrive on the South Pole. Now, weird thing that I never really worked out was that when you land, you find a dead Nomai.
Yeah.
Who it's previously said that someone called Solanum he found the quantum moon, and so I assumed it was him. But you then talk to him later. Talk to him later, completely fine. So
he's the only Nomai.
He's the only living Nomai in existence.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
that bit was really good. I liked that because there's no common language. They speak in symbols and such.
They speak in swirls to you.
So yeah, you have to pick up. You're like, okay, here's a symbol that corresponds to me. Here's a symbol that corresponds to you. Here's one that corresponds to the moon.
There's ones for explain as well. There's explain or something. There's a few different
so you'll put
verbs.
Explain me, please.
Yeah, you put explain me, and then he writes something for you,
and then you use your translator,
and you read it,
and he's like, "Oh, you're a person." You're
like, right, I don't know who you are. You just arrived here. You're like, okay, I get this now. Yeah. So you can talk. I was panicking that I was going to run out of time because it took me a while to get onto the quantum moon. I was like, man, I got to talk. There's so many different combinations. I have to talk. I don't want to have to come back here again. So, but before you get to him, right, you got to get to the quantum moon itself. And so there's two things on the moon. One is his shuttle, which, because it's on the quantum moon, I guess everything is a quantum object. So if you look away from it, it'll disappear. Yes. Can you even get in? You might be able to get in his shuttle. I don't think I did. I didn't think I cared enough.
Yes.
I might have.
Hold on. Are we thinking of the same? I know you get in some place and then there's a bunch of symbols on the wall or whatever, and then you have to flash your light on and off to change.
That's the tower.
Okay.
So his shuttle is just a ship. Shuttle. It's just a ship.
No, I think
you can get in there and read it.
You can get in. There's just nothing.
But there's not much to be said. I think there'll be a little bit of his log or whatever. Yeah. But the main thing is the tower, which is you get in there, and because you know that the third rule is that you have to be on the North Pole, you can't get there immediately. Now, the other thing that took me a while to work out is that whichever planet you're on, the quantum moon mimics it. Yes, so if you're on Giant Steep, the quantum moon is really flat and watery because Giant Steep is just a water ball. If you're on Brittle Hollow or something, it's very rocky and sort of mixed levels. So what you have to do first is go in the tower, shut the door, turn on the light first, then shut the door. Then you have to we have to have the light off, and then you have to turn your light off and then turn it back on, and you'll have changed position.
Yep.
Because, as discussed in the second rule, if you're not observing your surroundings, you can move with the moon. Yep. So the moon changes planets then. So actually the best planet is Giant Steep, from what I've heard.
I think so.
Because not all the planets you can get to the North Pole, because some of them they're just blocked off.
That's right. Yeah, no, you need... Yeah, I think you need the Giant Steep variation to be able to reach...
To be able to reach the North Pole itself. Yeah. So you reach the North Pole, then you got to spin around until the towers there.
Yep.
And then you can go in again, switch locations again, and you should arrive on the 6th location, which is basically just a black vortex, is the main idea of the Eye of the Universe. It's sort of rocky and dark.
Yes.
But it's just a massive vortex above you, which is what the Eye of the Universe turns out to be. And that's when you meet Solanum and you can sort of talk to him. And that's sort of mission solved then. That's like...
Yeah.
That's not the end game, but it's
You could end there.
Yeah.
You could.
That's a big mystery solved. Like, that is the second biggest mystery in the game solved there, even though it's not the end game. And so, I think it's time to talk about the end game.
Yes. So, yeah, like we said, Dark Bramble, end game location. You need to grab this black hole thingy off the Ash Twin project, by doing that weird teleport, the most annoying teleport.
Yeah, which is weird because you're on the Ash Twin, but you're teleporting to the Ash Twin project.
You're teleporting inside the Ash Twin?
Because normally, right, the teleports happen when the planet you're trying to teleport to goes overhead.
Yeah.
But, of course, when you're trying to go down, nothing goes overhead because you're already going in. So, that's why you have to do it when the vortex goes overhead.
Yeah. So, you grab that. That's one. And then, what else do you need? You need the code from Giant Steep.
Which you should already have. You shouldn't have. So you start your loop and you just immediately go to the Ash Twin because you should have that code memorized, ready to go.
You've taken a photo of it if you're smart.
Yeah, you've taken a photo of it if you remember.
So then, Ash Twin, grab your thing, go to Dark Bramble, navigate through the dumbass anglerfish.
You have to go through all the thing is you've got this limited amount of time because you've only got the 22 minutes and you've already wasted about 10 waiting for the Ash to proceed enough.
Yep.
And you're also, technically, you can cannon die now because you've turned off the Ash Twin project.
If you take
the
black hole thing, that's it.
Yeah, once you take it out,
restarts.
Technically, you can't restart again. So the game will let you respawn if you die. But you technically can and die for the first time, which I did.
It's an actual death now. It's not just, oh, hey, pranked.
Yeah, you get to respawn.
Yeah. I mean, the game still lets you respawn in a game sense, but in an in-world sense, you're dead.
Yeah, which is, I think, is one of the... It's something that you can't do with every game, but it's like, it's really good when a game does give you a proper reason why you're dead. Like, death, respawning works within the game world. Mm-hmm. So, you lose that and you technically can die properly.
Yeah. So you grab them, you go to Dark Bramble, you navigate through the anglerfish, and you get to the big shuttle.
The main ship,
the Nomai shuttle. You get in, you place your black hole generator, replace it with the old busted one that screwed them to start with. You punch in your codes that you took a photo of if you're smart, and then you hit the teleporty switchy thing, and then you go to... Where?
Yeah. That's the actual end game is very like, I don't know, meta or...
existential crisis?
Yeah, it's very existential because what I think the final message is that you did all this and what you got was you just cannon died. Like, the world still ended because the sun still exploded. You can't stop the sun from exploding. It was the end of its natural life cycle. So you just embraced your fate and died.
Where do you end up going?
So there's a lot of different areas that you sort of go. First, you're sort of like, I think, in sort of a... Well, first you like fall into the vortex that was the Eye of the Universe. And then you sort of...
So you go to the Eye of the Universe.
Yeah, you go to like a planet which looks very similar to the moon did when you were there. And you sort of just wander and then you like walk into like a big vortex.
You go in the vortex and then you're in... drugs land. Like nothing makes sense now.
Yeah, you're in like a star field and then the stars sort of become 3D that you can sort of see where they all are on a map, and you're in a forest, so the stars like within a forest.
And then all your mates that you've met from every planet, you then have to find them.
Yeah, you have to like recruit them in weird things. Like there's like weird stuff where you're like, you still need to use all these rules.
They kind of relate to like what's happening on their planet from memory.
Yeah, I mean, I remember one where you still have to use the rule of quantum mechanics where you turn off the light and they appear. But it's just like a weird stack of like wooded little creatures that just like appear, and it's like, I don't know what this has to do with anything, but...
It's just insanity.
Yeah.
Anyway, you gather them all and you're like, hey man, let's play a song.
Yeah, so they all start playing with their all different instruments, and they all play the same instruments. And, I roasted a marshmallow at the end just to... That's the first thing I did when I started the game. That's the last thing you do when you end the game. And, you sort of just fade away, and I think that doesn't it just fill with white light?
I was going to say, you play, and then it's like there's this grand explosion, I think.
And
credits.
Is there like I feel like there's like a little ending bit where it sort of shows that like something new is growing, or like a new life is reformed.
Like just one sort of screenshot, like a final screenshot of here's the end. Yeah. I think there's a good ending and there's like an alright ending. I couldn't tell you what the difference is between the two. I couldn't tell you what makes what constitutes a good ending.
Because I didn't fill in every part of my room. I filled in every panel, but some of them still show question marks because I technically hadn't explored everything that was there.
Yeah.
But maybe if you do that, that will give you a sort of better ending. But I mean, I think the whole point is that like there was no point living in a time loop, and the universe just has to end. And from that, something new is created out of the supernova of the sun.
It's you do your thing, you explore. But ultimately, you can't stop. It's a sun.
Yeah, it's the death of the universe. Yeah. You can't really do anything about that. Interestingly, though, you do find out that along the way that there is still... The Nomai were like a clan within their own species, and they just teleported away when they found the signal for the eye of the universe in our galaxy. So technically, in the other galaxy, they're still existing because they don't live in the same sun as us. Yeah. So there's still people alive. It's just like this solar system has been destroyed. Yeah, so it's sort of I guess like a death and rebirth type deal at the end.
Yeah.
I mean, it's one of these ones where you sort of get built up on what it's going to end as, and you never really get it fully fulfilled.
Again, it's not like an ending. You couldn't. I'm happy with there being no. It's not a definitive ending, I guess, in the sense that, because there's not really any story, to end. It's just here's exploration. How do you end exploration? Oh, sun death, okay.
Yeah, they just need a reason for the game to be you're finished now.
You're done. You've done everything you've done. It's not like, oh, you got a story, you got a villain. Oh, naturally, the villain dies in game. It's just, you've done everything. Congratulations. Here's the end. This is what happens.
I mean, as we said at the start, you could have technically just finished this immediately and looked at nothing.
Again.
You could have just done that final loop and just ended it immediately if you knew what you were doing, which you have to obviously cheat to do that.
Yeah.
But you could just end it and you wouldn't have known anything. The whole point is that you discover this whole world that's existed before you and does exist now as you progress throughout the story, through all the planets.
I think this game perfectly encapsulates... it's about the journey, not the destination.
Yeah.
That's the motto of this game. The whole game is just learning and exploration. Doesn't matter how it ends. Doesn't matter, whatever, because the game itself is the exploration aspect of it. It's having fun and learning and going here and there. So,
Yeah, I mean, it's not a linear story, because... Technically, nothing progresses because you keep going back in time.
Yeah.
So the only thing that's progressing is your own memory.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, there's no story progression because there is no story. There's an underlying story, but you're not interacting. You're not making a story. You're not a part of a story.
Yeah,
you're
an observer that's finding out the world.
Yeah.
Which is a big sort of refreshing change, I guess, from most games where the playable character is the center of the universe.
Yeah, you are the story. Yeah.
And... Oh, that's a side note. Ironically, from that documentary we watched, they said that technically you are the center of the universe.
I saw that.
So because of the way the physics works, technically you are always in the dead center of the universe.
Yeah.
And when you jump, everything else moves down, and you stay in the dead middle the whole time. So even though the whole moral of the story is that you're not the center of the universe, technically
in a game sense you are.
In a game sense you are. So that'll about do it, I guess. So do you have any final thoughts on the game? I mean, we just
the music's great. I love the music. It's 5 notes that everyone plays on their different instruments, and it's the best. If we can put the music in here,
if I can put the music in, I will put the music in. It's not very. It's 5 notes, but it's,
look up Outer Worlds music. It's
simple, but it's poignant, and there are a few other songs with the end that sort of give you that feel of exploration or whatever you're doing at the time.
It's just the music is still in my mind. It's I just think about the banjo twang of like, I'm not going to even try and attempt to sing the song.
Yeah.
If you can put it in, put it in.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't think I have anything else. If we're doing a rating, 21 out of 22 burnt marshmallows.
Okay, is that your rating system? Are you going to keep that for every game?
I'll change my system based on the game.
Yeah, I mean, if I had to give it a score, I guess I can give it, I don't know, 8 out of 10. I mean,
that's fair.
it wasn't like my perfect game, but I think if you're a fan of games as a medium, it's something that you should try because it's something that's not really been done. It's something new.
Yeah.
And, if you're bored of, the same game, the same open world generator over and over again coming out as a game, this is something different, and it's a reasonably deep experience. Like it's average 20 hours, I'd say, maybe a bit longer.
Yeah. There's
something there for you, and yeah, I think it's worth a try, especially.
Absolutely. Plus, it's on Game Pass. Can we get Xbox to
Yes, it's on
sponsor us?
Xbox Game Pass. Microsoft, can you give us money, please?
Yeah, no, it's free, or it's like $40 or something.
Yeah, it's not that much. Yeah. So I think that's going to about do it. So we're going to wrap up for today. You will find. I think the plan is that we're going to have at least 3 episodes out at launch. So whatever the next episode is, you'll know what it is. We don't know what it is yet. But you'll know what it is because it'll already be up. So please go listen to it. It's probably as good as this one, if not better.
We'll see.
I hope. Assuming it depends. If you think this one was really good, it's probably not better. But if you think this one was crap, it'll definitely be better than this.
I think if they think this one's crap, they won't listen.
They might not listen, but we're hoping that we can convince you with one of the 3 episodes. Right. So yeah, that'll wrap it up. Please do all the things that people do. I think we'll probably be on YouTube as well as on podcasts. Yeah. So if we are, like us and subscribe and all those things on both.
Don't comment though.
Yeah. I mean, you can comment, but try and nice comments only. Yeah. We will censor you if you comment violently.
Look, man, free speech.
Yeah. So that'll wrap it up, and so I've been Matthew.
I'm Ben.
And this is the Fast Play Podcast. We'll see you next time.
Bye.